Welcome to Tales of a Wanderer, where the past still whispers, and truth hides between the lines of time. Tonight, we walk through fog and fear, through messages written in symbols and blood. This is not just a story of a killer. It's the story of an obsession, a voice that haunted an entire state, and a mystery that never truly died. He called himself Zodiac. He mailed his words with the arrogance of immortality. And for decades, the world has been trying to answer him. This is the Zodiac Killer. Messages from the shadows.
Northern California, 1968. The summer of love had come and gone, but the peace and music of San Francisco were giving way to something darker. The world was changing. Protests, paranoia, and shadows lurking between the headlines. And then, it began. December 20th, 1968. Two teenagers, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, drove out to Lake Herman Road, just outside Vallejo. It was a quiet stretch of countryside, a lover's lane where headlights rarely passed. They parked, talked, laughed. Then, sometime around 11 p.m., a car pulled up behind them. The driver stepped out. He approached slowly, and then, without a word, he fired. The first bullet hit David. Then Betty tried to run. Her body was found 28 feet away, 5 shots in her back. No fingerprints, no weapon, no witness. Only tire tracks in the mud, and the silence of the cold December night. 6 months later, the same kind of violence returned. July 4th, 1969. Fireworks exploded across Vallejo as Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau sat in a parked car at Blue Rock Springs Park. They didn't see the man approach until it was too late. He fired 9 times through the window, then left, only to return seconds later and fire again. Mike survived. He described the shooter as heavyset, about 5 feet 8 inches, wearing glasses. His voice, he said, was calm, like someone ordering a meal. At 12:40 a.m., a phone call came to the Vallejo Police Department. The voice on the line said, "I want to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." The call traced back to a payphone just blocks from the police station. And then came the letters. July 31st, 1969. 3 envelopes arrived at 3 different newspapers. The Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Examiner, and the San Francisco Chronicle. Each carried the same strange, confident handwriting. Each began with a line that sent a chill through every newsroom that opened it. "This is the Zodiac speaking." Each contained 1/3 of a cipher, a grid of symbols, circles, triangles, and strange letters. He claimed that if all 3 were solved, his identity would be revealed. Newspapers published the letters as demanded. 3 days later, a California school teacher, Donald Harden, and his wife Betty cracked the code over breakfast. The message said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." It ended without a name, only a promise. "I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for the afterlife." California had met its first celebrity murderer. Over the next months, the killer wrote again and again, always mocking, always watching. Each letter began with the same phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking." In September 1969, the letters turned into horror once more. Lake Berryessa, September 27th. A young couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard picnicked by the lake when a man in a black executioner-style hood approached. On his chest, a white circle with a cross through it, the Zodiac symbol. He held a gun and a length of plastic rope. He spoke politely, calmly. He claimed to be an escaped convict who only wanted their car and money. Then he tied them up and stabbed them over and over. Cecilia's last words were whispers of confusion and disbelief. Brian survived, left bleeding on the ground, his back carved with the Zodiac symbol and the date of the attack written in black marker on the victim's car door nearby. The killer then drove to Napa and calmly called police from a payphone. "I want to report a murder. No, a double murder. They were 2 miles north of park headquarters. I'm the one who did it." Just 2 weeks later, Zodiac struck again, this time in San Francisco. Cab driver Paul Stein picked up a passenger in the theater district. The man gave him an address in Presidio Heights. Moments later, Paul was shot in the head. Zodiac wiped the cab, tore off a piece of the victim's shirt, and walked away as children watched from a window nearby. Minutes later, responding officers stopped a man fitting the suspect's description, but let him go. They had been told to look for a black suspect, not white. Days later, the San Francisco Chronicle received a new letter. Inside, the torn piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt, and another message. "I am the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington and Maple Street last night. To prove this, here is a piece of his shirt. If you think I'm lying, you will find it's correct." He signed it with the circle and cross, and for the first time the world saw his handwriting, broadcast across every newspaper in California. Fear spread through the Bay Area like a virus. Children were escorted to school by police cars. Reporters called him the ghost of the Golden Gate. He threatened to shoot children as they came off school buses, claiming he would wipe out a bus full of kiddies. Detectives from Vallejo, Napa, San Francisco, and the FBI all joined forces. But the letters only grew stranger. He began using ciphers, diagrams, and symbols of the Zodiac constellations. One letter even included a bomb diagram. The Zodiac claimed 37 victims in total. Only 7 are confirmed. But he always stayed one step ahead, as if he knew the investigation from the inside. One of the most famous suspects was Arthur Lee Allen, a school teacher with an obsession for ciphers, weapons, and the Zodiac name. He wore the same size shoes found at crime scenes. He owned the same kind of typewriter. He told friends he wanted to call himself Zodiac, and yet no physical evidence ever tied him to the crimes. Years passed. The letters slowed, but they never stopped. In 1974, the San Francisco Chronicle received another message. It mocked moviegoers for enjoying The Exorcist, calling it the best satirical comedy that I have ever seen. He signed it, as always, Zodiac. Then, silence. For decades, the mystery became a cultural obsession. Books, movies, documentaries, all searching for the man behind the symbol. His ciphers, however, remained his true legacy, puzzles that defied even the best minds for 50 years. Then, in 2020, an international team of cryptographers known as the Codebreakers finally cracked the infamous 340 cipher, sent in 1969. It read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me." But even that code, after all the effort, revealed no identity, only arrogance. The truth is, the Zodiac didn't need to kill to survive. He lived on through fear, through headlines, through every whisper that carried his name. He became immortal, not in body, but in mystery. Perhaps that was the point.
The Zodiac Killer disappeared as quietly as he came. Some believe he died. Others believe he still walks among us, an old man now, reading the stories written about his shadow. But his legacy remains, not in the bodies, but in the codes. A reminder of how curiosity and fear can intertwine, until the truth itself becomes part of the myth. And so, another story fades into the night. The typewriter falls silent. The letters rest. Thank you for listening to Tales of a Wanderer. Until the next mystery calls, keep wandering.